If you are planning a move to Ecuador or just curious about the culture, stay tuned because I'm gonna share a few of the culture shocks that I've experienced as an expat living in this country. So the very first culture shock I experienced when I got to Ecuador was actually when I first arrived on the soil in the airport, realizing that, oh yeah, all the Spanish classes and lessons that I had taken up until this point were going to be used at this very moment. It felt like when we were in the US and we first got on the plane to come to Ecuador, everybody was speaking English. It wasn't until we hit the soil right here in Ecuador that I felt everybody all of a sudden only spoke Spanish and I was lost. And it felt like all of the Spanish I had learned up until that point was gone. I just felt like, oh my gosh, what am I doing? And where am I? And what journey am I about to embark on? But all of that dissipated, and as I, navigated life here in Ecuador, I became comfortable. Things became second nature, even the Spanish. I'm not worried or nervous when it comes to conversations with people, especially because for the most part, I can understand what people are saying. I might not always be able to communicate back well, but because I try my best, I feel like people understand that. And I just feel like being less critical of myself has really helped. Communication via WhatsApp. I know that sounds kind of odd, but living in Ecuador has meant I've used WhatsApp so much more than I have ever used it in any other country. And I thought my time in India was WhatsApp heavy. No, not to the extent that it is here. I communicate on WhatsApp for every single thing. Grocery deliveries are through WhatsApp. I feel like I am corresponding with people professionally through WhatsApp. So I feel like a lot of conversations that I usually have over email are actually in WhatsApp. I'm being sent documents in WhatsApp and professional correspondences and invitations, and just so much happens through WhatsApp. And personally, I don't love it. I feel like it is an extension of social media because I work in social media. I don't want to be on the phone like that all day, more like phone calls and text, but WhatsApp is widely used here and it's just something I've had to get used to, honestly. And it's okay. Like, it's a very convenient, very helpful, very worthwhile app to have. I definitely recommend that you have WhatsApp and that you find groups that you can join on WhatsApp. I feel like the expat groups that I'm a part of are great to have via WhatsApp because like a lot of communication comes through those groups. I'm able to learn a lot. I'm able to be updated on things that happen throughout the country, throughout Quito in particular, through my WhatsApp group. So they're helpful. I'm just annoyed by the platform itself. So this next culture shock is just an interesting one. It's not bad at all. And it is the active culture here in Ecuador, but especially within my neighborhood. The parks here are very interesting. The workout equipment is like built into the structures of certain play areas, and those are usually for adults. Sometimes you'll see kids on them, but mostly adults. And I think it is so awesome to see adults, but older adults, utilizing these little outdoor facilities to get their workout on. I mean, people are active here and I love that. I go to the park very frequently with my toddler and we are now starting to see the same people when we go, and people are getting to know us, we're getting to know them, and it's just really cool to see people again using those workout equipment areas and also just walking a ton. I just think that the active culture here is really great. Okay, this one is gonna sound a little bit like complaining, but it's really not that big of a deal. At least it's not anymore since I've adapted. But it is the all-night parties, y'all. All-night parties are a thing here, and we have people above us. They like to party, and then right above them is the rooftop, and that is usually where everyone else connects and then goes up to the rooftop to party. Sometimes you'll have the DJ, you'll have the MC, and it is just interesting. It's interesting on the nights when you are tired. Usually these parties happen on the weekends like anywhere else in the world, but the fact that the noise level is so outrageous at times is interesting. It just means that we now sleep with sound machines. When we first arrived here and I was pregnant, I was just trying to sleep a lot, and then when we had our child, I was afraid that every single noise would wake him up even with a sound machine. That's just me being a paranoid mom. But now I'm like, I just wish somebody would invite me to a party, because I have not been invited to one of these parties yet. And now I just feel a little left out. So that's all that is. Driving is in fact gonna sound like probably the biggest complaint of this video. I said the last one was one, but it really, that's water under the bridge. Driving here in Quito is not my favorite thing. I try to avoid driving as much as possible within the city. Now, driving on the highways is fantastic. It's smooth. It's all the things that you envision for like a beautiful driving experience, especially if you're going on a long weekend trip to another little city in the area. Like, yes, sign me up. I will drive. Let me be the driver. But driving here in Quito just grinds my gears. It is such a difficult thing to wrap your mind around. Trying to maneuver just with the different driving rules or lack thereof at times is very frustrating. And I would say the most frustrating thing, and I feel like locals, people living here too, would agree with me, it's more of the stopping in the middle of the street or stopping on the side of the streets. And then you, as the driver behind the person that stops, has to figure out how to navigate around that. None of it's a big deal as long as you're safe and you get to where you need to go. It's just more frustrating. And I think this then ties into parking, which can be frustrating too. And it's really only because like if you're doing street parking and things like that, there might not be a lot of options. And when you are parking at the mall, for example, I have to get to the mall and different places early because parking is just so tight. And all of it is probably just a me problem at the end of the day. I might just be a little too anxious when I'm driving here in Quito. Although I would say I'm a pretty good driver, I just feel heightened. I feel like I have slightly more road rage than I would like. And so I just try to avoid driving when I can. Done complaining. Now this next part is, I guess, more back to the admirable side of life. And that is the popularity of dogs here. I've never lived in a country quite like Ecuador, where dogs are not only just plentiful, they are well taken care of. People here take care of their dogs very well, at least in my neighborhood. Again, I'm not going out and experiencing a vast number of other neighborhoods and hanging out with a vast array of people. But in my neighborhood, I would say that the majority of people have a dog. We don't have a dog, but the people that do have dogs, they take really good care of their dogs. One of our park friends, older gentleman, has a dog who is actually a show dog, and he gets this dog groomed, and this dog is in commercials and advertisements, and it's just so cute to see. It's so cute to see this particular dog at the park. But we'll go to the park and, you know, people are very free with their dogs too. I think that makes me a little nervous, honestly speaking, with just how many dogs are off leash. But luckily those dogs, for the most part, are with owners. Those owners just feel freedom to keep their dogs off leash. And so that's, you know, that's their prerogative. I just have to be careful. I have a phobia of dog attacks because I was attacked and my dog was attacked and he passed away from the attack. So my advice for general adaptation when you are moving abroad, or if you're moving here to Ecuador in particular, just be patient. The things that I mentioned are, again, just surface level, water under the bridge after you experience something frustrating. You know, I think when you realize that life is not that bad, you also realize that you can be a little bit more patient, especially patient with people around you and the locals who have invited you or have allowed you to be in their space, basically. I would also say avoid complaining. Yes, I had a few complaints in this video, but look, I'm still smiling. I would never come on my platforms to rant and rave about how horrible a place is, because if I ever feel that a place is horrible or there are things that I just cannot manage, I'm gonna leave. Like, I'm not gonna go to someone else's home basically and, you know, kind of crap all over their life, their culture, the things that they have going on, because that's not for me to do. That's rude. And so, you know, please take what I said in my complaints with a grain of salt as well, because If driving is not a frustration for you in general in your home country, then it's probably not going to be that bad for you here in Ecuador or your adoptive country, wherever that might be. That's just something that I have to figure out and deal with. Again, the complaints are more of a me problem and not necessarily of an Ecuador or EU problem. Have gratitude and respect for the people you interact with on a daily basis while you are abroad, and also for their culture as well. And in doing that, that'll help you make connections, make new friends, and really get into the whys of why people do what they do and what makes them who they are. I think that's really important. So with that being said, thank you so much for watching. Make sure you check out this video here to see what life is like here in Ecuador for myself and for my family. And I'll see you all in the next one.